All right. Well, I think we can go ahead and move on to our next topic here. So, don your tinfoil hats, and you can go ahead and talk a bit about all this Half-Life 3 stuff.
All right. So, once again, after you put on your tinfoil hats, we have yet another rumor of Half-Life 3 being in development. So here's an article from Insider Gaming, talking about Half-Life 3 has moved to its next stage of playtesting, and this is according to Gabe Follower, who has a channel, and he's had sources before that have revealed HLX Half-Life 3, and said that development has started for playtests for family and friends of Valve developers in the past few months. And as the article says, while the information doesn't give us much information into what Half-Life 3 entails, it does tell us that the project is now at a fundamental stage of development and could see the game further delayed if it does not resonate with the new playtests. Also, one thing I also should mention is that Gabe Follower has had a history of leaking other information about Valve titles, most notably Deadlock from last year. And then, other stuff about playtests that have had delays would be Half-Life Alyx, which had a 1-year rewrite for the story. Deadlock also had several delays due to feedback during the sessions, and the article says the playtests do not tell us that Half-Life 3 could be nearing its announcement soon, though, presumably sometime during 2025. If not, well, it's entirely possible that the game could leak online due to the game now being accessed by more people. As for when Half-Life 3 will be released, it remains to be seen, but Gabe Follower's claims suggest that the game is progressing well. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. But what are your thoughts on this rumor?
Well, I have my tinfoil hat firmly attached to my head, and I believe this is real. I want to believe it's real, and so therefore I believe it's real. I believe Half-Life 3 is in fact coming, that it's being worked on, that it's in playtesting right now. As for whether or not it would come out this year, that part I'm not sure about. I have a feeling that once it's revealed, it will not be long after that it's actually released. Unless Valve decides that they're not doing physical copies, which they may or may not. If they don't do physical copies, they could shadow drop it. They could reveal it and drop it the same day. They could. They absolutely could. And the hype alone, it would crash everyone's servers, and it's like, it's going to sell. Even people who've never played Half-Life, because of the legendary status of this franchise, it's going to sell. And obviously the big question is whether or not it's in the state that it needs to be to where they can actually sell it. Because, if them having delayed Half-Life Alyx and Deadlock because of feedback, or in the case of Half-Life Alyx rewriting the story, that's the one thing that I think is the part that makes me unsure about how soon we'll see it. But obviously I'm hoping it's very soon, because we've been waiting forever for this game, and yeah, it's not like we can't wait longer. We've waited long enough as it is. It's like, okay, it's been close to 20 years. We're coming up on 20 years, and 2027 was when the last or 2017 or 2007. My goodness, I can't talk correctly. 2007 was when Half-Life 2 Episode 2 came out. So, it's been a long time. I played Half-Life 2 in, I want to say it was probably 2010 or 2011 is when I played it. So, I played through the base game and then the 2 episodes following that. So it's like, okay, even if it never comes out, or I die before it comes out, or whatever, it's like, okay, whatever. But at the same time, if this actually comes, I mean, it's going to be huge. Now, whether or not it's going to be good, that's a question that is hard to answer. But based on what everyone has said about Half-Life Alyx, I have faith that it will be a really great game. And, all they have to do is take what was great about the original game, make improvements based on where games are today compared to where they were in 2007, and they'll be good. Obviously, most people would actually, at least fans of the Half-Life series, would be perfectly fine if it was just a Source engine, exactly the same game, or exactly the same in terms of gameplay. But, they do have Source 2, and I'm pretty sure that's what Half-Life Alyx was in. And so, there's not really any reason why they wouldn't upgrade the game, especially because of how long it's been. It's been a really long time. So, either way, I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll see it this year. I believe it exists regardless. I think that there is enough smoke, in addition to, the other teases that they did previously, like, I can't even remember what specifically they were, but, it was, like, stuff having to do with the Borealis and all that other stuff that we were talking about last year. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on it.
I guess just as a quick question, and partially for clarification, why would you say there would be a physical drop for this game, considering the fact that PC hasn't had a...
Well, I was saying that I don't think there will be a physical drop, but that would be the only way that it wouldn't be a shadow drop, is if they were doing a physical version. And even then, actually, realistically speaking, they could just do the physical version separately at a different time and still do shadow drop for the digital. Get many people to double dip.
That's definitely true. There are definitely people who would do that. Yeah, I agree. I think this is definitely likely and in the works. As far as when this could come out, that's something I'm not certain. I personally think that it might possibly come next year. I feel like unless the game is very well ahead of things, I just don't see anything that's which suggests. I mean, granted, nothing has even been shown yet, but I know I just feel like it's too soon. I mean, of course, like you said, Valve could just like shadow drop the game and say, "Hey, here's Half-Life 3. Are you happy now? So don't ask us for anything ever again." But I don't know. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's going to come out now unless Valve actually says something. So I feel like it's gonna be next year. But I would like to be wrong on that end. If it comes out this year, great. I'll definitely get it. But that'll be interesting. Now, one thing that I am very curious about, considering the fact that the other games have been ported over, with the exception of Alyx, which I don't know if that's something that Valve still is possibly considering porting over, would be if they brought Half-Life 3 also to consoles as well.
Yeah,
that's something
it will be on consoles for sure.
Do you think it's something that would be day and date, or something that would be like coming out later on?
I think it'll be day and date, or at like there might be a slight delay, but honestly, I think it's just going to be day and date.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like I do feel like if it were just on PC, they would shadow drop it, but I feel like if they were also going to put it on consoles, they might want to announce it ahead of time.
Yeah, maybe.
Give enough, since console gamers may or may not be as hyped as PC gamers, so they might want to, say, hey, we've got this game coming unless they did something where there was a slight delay, like we're shadow dropping this now on PC and, say next month or so it comes to consoles. I feel like I just feel like for at least for the console side, they would want to give a bit of a head notice on that end. I mean, I feel like they could shadow drop it on PC, but we'll just see. It definitely will be interesting to see, like, if we hear something, when that would be, since, I mean, Valve has been, pretty tight-lipped when it comes to new reveals. I mean, considering the fact that, 3 years ago at a high school, or I think it was a high school presentation, a kid asked Gabe about, potentially bringing games to consoles, and then he just said, expect to hear more from us later on, and he was very vague about that. And then later that year we got the Steam Deck. And so I mean, if Valve's gonna be very tight-lipped about things, that's probably when they would just say, boom, here we go, here's what we've got. So we'll definitely see.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the real question is, will it be Steam Deck verified? I think it will be. I think that Valve, because it's their product and because they actually know how to optimize games, actually care enough to optimize games, that they would make it Steam Deck verified. I definitely agree with that. And if it wasn't for the fact that it's VR, I would definitely say that Alex would have been Steam Deck verified. Yeah. I think it is playable on the Steam Deck. It's just because there are like I can't remember if it's just a mod or if it's like a fan patch, but it's essentially a mod that makes it possible to play without VR.
Huh.
I just have never looked into it or rather, I haven't ever tried it because I'm just a little hesitant to drop the money on something that I'm just not quite sure how well it would be that way. I mean, like, that is probably the one and only game I would want to play in VR, because I know that it is extremely well made, and of course I love Half-Life. But yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I'll have to look into that, but yeah, I definitely do agree though that this is a game that I am confident that it would be verified and we could get that running. I mean, I was like, if Valve wanted to also shadow drop it and say, hey, we're releasing this also next to the Steam Deck too, that would be great. But I know Valve said that they wanted to wait until they felt there was sufficient cause for upgrading or for releasing a new Steam Deck, so that'll definitely be off into the future.
Just watch. Half-Life 3 is going to be revealed alongside the Switch 2. It's going to be in their highlight reel trailer, have Half-Life 3 in there. I mean, Switch 2 is going to get some big games right away for sure, or at least maybe not right away, but that will be announced in their initial thing. Like, we know, I say it's pretty definitive, you're going to get Metaphor ReFantazio, you're going to get Persona 3 Reload, you're probably going to get Elden Ring, potentially other Dark Souls games. I think that would be great. I would double dip buy physical versions of Dark Souls 2 and 3 for sure, and Elden Ring on a cartridge. That's a beautiful thing. But yeah, like I'm leaning more and more towards getting a Switch 2 at launch. But like I said, the main thing would be, number one, it would be for playing games with the kids, because I want it to be something that they can actually play, because the only time that they play the Switch is when we're playing this stuff as a family. And this would give them an opportunity to maybe try out some single player stuff as well. I mean, they'd have to take turns, of course, which would make things challenging, but it's like, I'm not buying multiple of them. I'm buying one. You kids can learn to share, And then when it comes to whenever the OLED version comes out, then I'm buying that for me. And for me alone. So, or at least primarily for me. But yeah. We'll see what happens. A lot of it's going to depend on price and all that. And anyway, getting back onto the Half-Life 3 thing here. I mean, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't bring it to the Switch too. And I think it's going to be an absurdly well optimized game across the board, because Valve actually, being a PC company, PC first, they know how to optimize games for PC. I mean, imagine that. Imagine optimizing your games. Use the Steam Deck as a baseline. Like, this is where we start. We're going to optimize it for this, and then everything that's more powerful than it is going to run the game even better. Imagine that. If more developers did that, we would have better games that ran better. We wouldn't be relying on frame generation and fake upscaling garbage. We would just have games that run properly. I mean, imagine that. But yeah. I digress.